Hello everybody, welcome to Red Tool House. On our YouTube channel we talk about all things homesteading and try to implement some of those things on our rural 100 acres here in southern West Virginia. Well, guess where we're not?
Southern West Virginia.
This is true. You can tell by the background. Now, I apologize for the lighting right now. We wanted to have this nice scenery behind us, but it's still too bright and our faces are shadowed. But you really don't need to see our faces anyway, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, obviously, we're not in southern West Virginia. Right now, we are on tour. We are in southern Florida right now, and we're kind of taking some time away, doing a little trip, little break there. So we're going to be down here for a couple weeks, checking some things out. So the plan is to still keep doing videos as long as they're pertinent to homesteading. But in the next couple weeks, if we have a lull or two in our video schedule, then you'll know why. But we'll plug along. And actually what we wanted to do right now, this was a good opportunity as we were putting together the details of what we'd work on. We went back and realized we haven't addressed a lot of questions in a while. So thought we'd take the time to do this. So as we've got this lovely ocean scene behind us here, we'll go through some questions and we'll cut away to some B-roll that actually makes sense with homesteading. What's our first question, Kel?
Okay, John Marty asks, are you getting any of the storm your way?
And I know John was asking as far as, are we getting a storm our way as far as West Virginia? Because nobody knows until now that we're in Florida. No, we are not getting into the storm in West Virginia. We actually had just a little bit of a rain shower pass through on Sunday night. So Florence had already dropped her wrath in North Carolina and South Carolina before she came to West Virginia. So we were fortunate enough not to have any of that, but we definitely know that there's so many people in North Carolina even now still dealing with that. So you know, our thoughts and prayers go out to everybody down there. That's a really rough time. Flooding is something that West Virginians are very familiar with, so it's sad to see people have to deal with what they have to deal with. The cleanup just takes months, if not years, to overcome. What else we got?
How do you manage the homestead while you're away? Because we're away.
Yeah, this question, nobody's asked this question. Actually, people ask this question all the time, but we know with us doing this video, people are going to ask the question, hey Troy, what about the homestead? Who's watching the pigs and the chickens and all that? Well, that's where we come back to talking about community. We can't stress community enough, even for homesteaders. We want to make sure as homesteaders we don't crawl into a hole and say, well, I don't want to know my neighbors. I want to be a hermit. I don't want to do this or that, because that kind of makes it tough on you. And in this situation, we have great neighbors. So our neighbors actually they have horses and goats, so they're familiar with animals. They don't have pigs and chickens, but it's not that much of a stretch for them.
Yeah, we have a great family that lives close to us, and they have been taking care of our animals for several years now. Yeah,
so it's great. It works out, and that's why a farm sitter, a local neighbor, whatever, even getting to know, if you don't have a neighbor close by, if you belong to a church or some other civic organization, then you can see if there's some responsible young men or women that would want to come house sit and stay in the house. Say, hey, you get to stay in the house for a couple weeks and hang out and do all the fun stuff the McClungs get to do. Because we have so much fun stuff at home. And be able to do that and get somebody to keep an eye on it. That provides security and oversight there of your animals and somebody at the house. So that's how we take care of that, and we recommend anybody that wants to do so, do the same thing. Okay, I'll read this one. This one's kind of funny. This one came in the other day. It says, you may be used to it by now, but this video sound is being overpowered by the sounds of the crickets. And that's from Kevin. And Kevin's referring to the video where we talked about water source. And I have some friends that have actually been in that situation where they've built on top of a ridge or on top of a mountain where they have no access to city water. They can't strike a well. Yeah, Kevin, you're right. The crickets are a little overzealous at times on Red Tool House. And quite frankly, and we use a wireless mic. In fact, Kelly's got it clipped on right here. So that's pretty much the best mic option you've got. Other than staying inside and shooting videos, I really can't do much about the ambient noise.
And speaking of...
Yeah, we're actually, I don't know if those are crickets
cicadas?
Or tree frogs or what. It's Florida. It's hard to tell. It could be something that could eat you. Who knows? Okay, we have another question from Perry. And Perry is responding to a video we've done a long time ago, but it's still getting a lot of views. And that's a video where we discussed how we did not buy 2 acres adjacent to our homestead and kind of discussed why we didn't do that. I'll link to it here. But he says, I noticed that you said I, me, and my. Your wife isn't in on this with you? And yeah, you go back and look at that video. I do speak in first person a lot and really don't talk plural, but did I include you in that discussion, Kelly?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. And Perry's response, I don't know if he saw it or not. I realized afterwards Kelly kind of thought I was maybe being a little too snarky maybe, but well, it wasn't mean to be, but no, it seems really foreign to me to not include my wife on everything we talk about. So when I say I kind of joked and said we subscribe to the one flesh philosophy. When we married, we became one flesh. So when I say I mean us. Other than I stink, I don't mean I don't mean us. I smell bad.
Then it's just the
singular. Exactly. It's not the one flesh thing, right. Unless I'm standing too close to you. But no, yes, Kelly gets consulted on all these ideas. If it was just me going off doing whatever I want, the farm would look a whole lot different. There'd be all kinds of crazy stuff. There'd be stuff piled up everywhere. Well, what do you mean? It's already piled up everywhere. There'd be more stuff piled up
everywhere. Am I in this conversation?
It's this one flesh thing. You just need to keep this one.
This is how we discuss.
Okay, moving on.
Okay, Scott asks how you have structured your businesses to take full advantage of taxes, ownership, and so on.
Well, it's a really good question, Scott. I know a lot of people ask this question, and I'm going to do like a lot of other people do, and I'm going to punt. Really, it's one of the, because of tax law and because of all the garbage that goes along with that and the liability, I really hate to give detailed advice on what works for us because it most likely won't work for somebody else. And I don't want to get somebody thinking, oh, I can do this, this, and this, just like Troy and Kelly do, and I'll be fine, and then bang, whatever, something happens there, doesn't work out, you get a tax bill, you get an audit, you get all the fun stuff that comes along with the IRS.
Well, there's just too many variables.
There are. Yeah, there are a lot of variables. But the one thing I will say for Scott is really, really do your homework and look. The first thing you want to do when it comes to your homestead or your farm or whatever business is look at incorporation. You want to incorporate, you want to put either if it's a limited liability corporation or a limited liability partnership, something like that. S Corp, there's all kinds of different things, but a smaller company, I'd look at least a limited liability corporation. And that's going to help you in the long run when it comes to deductions and write-offs and all those fun things. I actually hate that part. To me, that's the most aggravating part of being self-employed. And of course, another reason why we don't really, our situation would be unique anyway. If I told you point by point how we do it, it would be unique anyway because it's a different structure. My primary income comes from my business, my marketing business. That's how I make a living, and that's a limited liability partnership. I do have a business partner. So that allows me to utilize other elements. So look at incorporation, whether it's limited liability corp or limited liability partnership or an S Corp or whatever. She's the accountant. She could talk a lot more about that than I could. But
I mean, one thing that we recommend if you're not an accountant is to take all of it to someone who is an accountant. Go to a small business accountant to find out about a Schedule F for your farm, and to take care of all of those tax questions that you may have.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, Kelly's professionally trained as an accountant, but we still hire an accountant to do all of our stuff. Because Kelly, obviously, her primary job right now is homeschooler, so she hasn't been in the accounting world in a while. So we still hire an accountant to do that, and it's very important. And right now, with the way things are changing, with all these different income sources. I mean, there's digital income sources, obviously YouTube, the farm website, all those type of things that you can generate income from. Still centered around a homestead or a farm. A traditional accountant that hasn't kept up on that may be like, well, I'm not quite sure how to do this. What do you mean you're going to try to write off a wireless mic for your farm? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you need to mic up your farm? Well, you know, my accountant gets it because we've explained it all and they've studied it and they've kept a good look at that. And that will pay dividends in the long run. The money that you spend the accountant, you'll get that back, I guarantee you, either in dodging IRS issues or having the lowest tax bill you can possibly get, or again, the accountant finding good write-offs for you.
And just the peace of mind of not having to worry about it.
Yeah, exactly. Keep you from waking up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat. All right. I got a question from Paul, and Paul writes, are you harvesting all your picks, or how are you going to keep them protected over the winter? And we love autocorrect. I assume Paul means pigs, not picks. We harvest our picks through our phones. But no, Paul, I know what you mean there. You probably meant pigs. It's kind of funny talking about autocorrect. Kelly and I actually have a rule with autocorrect when we text one another, is we're not allowed to correct what autocorrect types. So it makes for some humorous situations for us. Anyway. So yes, we're going to harvest, we're going to process all of our, what we call our piglets. Obviously they're not piglets now, they're well over 200 pounds. But we will process all 7 of those, and we will keep some sows back like we do every year. So the sows, they get to come into the barn, they get to chill there in the wintertime. Hay, it's not a heated barn, but pig can handle cold weather. There's no doubt about it. And where we are in Zone 6, we really don't have crazy winters. We may have, I think one time we had 2 weeks below 0 degrees Fahrenheit, but that doesn't happen very often. So it works out fine for us. The only reason I don't have pigs on pasture over the winter is it's just too hard on our pasture right now. There will be a time I'd like to get to where I'm cycling pigs and have a spring processing, but we've got to do a lot more infrastructure build there to look at either a sacrificial area or get them spread out far enough on enough ground that they don't completely destroy it, because you have 15 to 20 pigs on pasture in West Virginia on a hillside in the wintertime, and they're going to strip it bare, and it's going to start eroding pretty badly.
Okay, we've had several ask about the log pile at our new camp, and we're surprised that we were going to use it for firewood and not logs for a cabin.
Yeah, so that was episode 161. I'll link to it here, where we detailed getting our new property, our new 2 acres up in the mountains of West Virginia, higher elevation of West Virginia. And we cleared an area there to open up for potential build of a cabin. Again, we're not 100% sure what we're going to do just yet, what that's going to look like, but we knew we needed to get that cleared out so we could get our vehicles off the road and have some space in there to do some things. It was all very dense Appalachian hardwood forest. And we made a decent pile. We probably cut down, what would you say, maybe 30? I think we counted stumps, 30 yes. or 35. Yeah. And almost all of those were white oak. And they were smaller white oak. But I made the comment in the video that they weren't millable. And several of y'all corrected me and said, oh, wait, Troy, those are millable. And yes, technically they are. Those could go in a mill and actually produce some lumber. But in our situation, those are 2.5 hours away from Red Tool House. So it doesn't make sense to transport those down to Red Tool House to the mill to mill them up and then turn around and take the finished product back up there, as much as it would be just mill something at Red Tool House. Now, of course, we could also take the mill to camp and mill it up there, and that's an option, but that's just something I'm not really considering right now. Those small amounts of white oak, we know we need firewood up there. That's going to be our heat source. We like to sit by a campfire. May even look at promoting some goodwill with our neighbors if they burn wood, to offer some of that to them as a goodwill gesture. It's always nice to have your neighbors on your side, especially when you have a camp that's not necessarily going to be attended all the time. So yes, while I agree those logs could be used, and again with 32 logs, you really couldn't, at the size that they are, and some of them are white oak is crazy. It tapers so badly. I mean, you can have a base, the first 12 inches that's really, really wide, and then bang, you get this sucked in part, and then it goes up and tapers off. So to really get a log out of it would be much smaller. It really wouldn't be enough to do a full-size cabin, so I'd have to be pulling logs in from somewhere else. And I don't know that I'd necessarily want to make a cabin out of white oak. That would be very, very heavy. But again, if those were down at Red Tool House by the mill, then I'd be milling them and it could be flooring, it could be other elements there that we could use it for. So and again, on Red Tool House, we've got about 90 acres of hardwood forest that we'd like to open up some of that for more pasture. So there's plenty of trees that need to be cut down at Red Tool House and converted into timber versus transporting those. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Well, again, we don't want to take this video too long. Wanted to hit some of the questions that we had seen. One thing I want to talk about questions, We love the fact that you all comment on the videos. Please keep that going. And I want to apologize in advance and in the past for maybe not responding to all comments. The problem is, at times they come in so fast that even YouTube won't notify me. So I have to go in and I try to sort them chronologically and find them. Sometimes I just miss them. They just don't make it there. If you have a question that you really would like to get an answer, you can just go to the website, redtoolhouse.com, go to the Contact Us link, and just fill out the form there, real basic stuff, and ask your question. And if I've missed you, then it's been a total mistake, because I've been pretty good at responding to every single one of those emails. It may take several days, but I'm pretty good at responding to every single one of those emails. So I'd be more than happy to field any questions there. We usually get 1 or 2 a day right now, so that's very doable for us to respond to. And since we're talking about the website, don't forget we're building our channel directory. So if you've got a YouTube channel that you like, or a YouTube channel that's yours, dealing with homesteading, and you want to add it to our directory, then just go to our website, redtoolhouse.com, use the Contact Us link again, put some information in there, just give us a link to your channel, maybe a little description about your channel, and roughly where it's located. Again, I don't need a street address. I don't want to cyber stalk you or anything, but you can just say, hey, we're in such and such county in this state or whatever. And we're going to try to build a directory of that. That way, when people are looking for channels and specific areas to say, hey, who's homesteading here? I'd like to get some ideas, then hopefully we have a resource. And if we get this built and this works out, then we'll look at other social media options as well.
Well, if you like the video, give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. And check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/Red Tool House Farm.
All right, take care, everybody.